Okay, hello again, geometry students. So the last video was the geometry intro, was the first part. I went over points, lines, line segments, rays, angles, acute, obtuse, straight angles, right angles, linear pairs. I went over all that, and I gave you guys 5 questions on the back of this board. It was numbered 1 through 5. 5 was a matching one, and the rest were just it asked you to draw something. Okay. This one, I'm going to do part two. This one does not have to do with lines and segments and all that. This is actually just pure algebra. It's basic algebra. It's solving equations, but it's very necessary for geometry because in geometry, though there isn't too much algebra in geometry, there's just basic solving equations you're going to need to do. So I just want to make sure you guys are good at that, or a little more confident in that. I will constantly be going over equations, how to solve them. So it's not like the first and last time you're going to see it and that's it. No, I'm going to be going over them again and again throughout term D. But I just want to do a separate video just going over that. And plus, it's going to be on your exam, on your Schoology quiz this Friday also. Okay. So I want to start off easy. Let's start off with an easier equation, something like this. So these are all, the direction here is all just solved. Okay. And I'm just going to use x. So let's say we have 4x equals negative 20. Okay. So some of you in your head might know, oh, 4 times something is negative 20. I know that. That's negative 5. 4 times negative 5. Some of you may think, oh, well, it's 4 times 5. Yeah, but it's not, because 4 times 5 would be positive 20, not negative 20. That's all great. I'm going to tell you what the answer is. You're right. The answer is x equals negative 5. But the answer is not important. What's important is how do we do this? What do we algebraically do? Well, if I'm doing 4 times x, you have to constantly think of the opposite of what multiplying is. What was the opposite of multiplying by 4? It is dividing by 4. I'm going to do a different color. Hopefully that helps. So it's dividing by 4. 4 divided by 4 is equal to 1. It's essentially just canceling it out. What I do to one side, I must do to the other. Divide by 4. And now I rewrite the new line. I rewrite from left to right. The 4's get canceled. So what's left over here is x. I bring down the x. I bring down the equal sign. And I just do negative 20 divided by 4. Remember, when they're different signs, one's negative, one's positive. They're different signs and you're multiplying or dividing them, it's always going to be negative. But if this was, let's say, a negative 4, they would both be negative, same sign, you get a positive answer, okay? But in this case, yeah, there you go, we're done. X equals negative 5. All right, that's the basic one. I'm going to erase that now. Let's do one step harder now. Let's try this. 3x, again, we have to solve this. Minus 5 equals 16. Okay, great. So looking at this first, I can't divide by 3 here because if you see the equal sign, there's a negative 5 here too. There's a minus 5 here too. So you have to get rid of all that stuff first before you mess with this. Okay, this is the last thing we're going to do. So what I want to do is I want to get rid of this right here because this is the equal sign and that's equal to 16. I want to move everything over so that the only thing I'm left with at the very end is just the x. X equals something. So what's in the way? The 3 is here and then minus 5 is here too. Well, let's think about this. This minus 5 is not multiplying with that x. It's just doing minus 5. So let's think about what's the opposite of subtracting 5. The opposite of subtracting 5 is adding 5. I'm immediately going to cancel it out because I know opposites cancel each other out. But what I do to one side of the equal sign, to the left side, I have to do to the right side, the other side. So I'm going to do a plus 5 here. As soon as I do that, I'm going to write down, I'm going to draw a new line, and I'm going to go from left to right. Let's see what we have here. I'm going to bring down the entire 3x. Negative 5 plus 5 canceled out. That's why I put a little slash through it. Bring down the equal sign. And then I'm just going to do 16 plus 5, which is 21. Okay, I have 3x equals 21. Just like the last problem we did, right? This was just one extra step. What's the opposite of multiplying by 3? The opposite of multiplying by 3 is dividing by 3. Cancel it out immediately so that the x is just left. Well, if I do divide by 3 on this side, on the left hand side, I must do it. So, new line, let's see what we got here. We got x, that's the only thing left over here, equals 21 divided by 3 is 7. Perfect. Okay. All right, let's take it one step higher then. All right, if you got that, I'm going to erase this now. One step higher. Okay, let's now go to something like this. Not much more difficult. Just now the 2 is out here, and then there's a parentheses of x minus 3. When you have a number outside of parentheses, now, let me be clear here. I'm not talking about something like this. If I had written this problem like this, 2 plus x minus 3, well, you're just adding 2 plus x minus 3. That's fine. When you have a number directly outside of a parentheses without any plus or minus there or anything like that, okay? When you have something like this is called distribution. In other words, you're multiplying. You have to multiply this 2 to not just the x, but to every single thing, the x and the negative 3. Okay, notice I said negative 3 because that's what this is. X is here, the negative here belongs with that 3, so it's a negative 3. So let's do it. 2 times x is 2x. 2 times negative 3 is negative 6. And I'm just going to write down the rest. Guess what? That's just like the problem we just did. We just did a problem like that, okay? So remember what we did first? I want to get the x alone. I want to move that minus 6 first to the other side. So opposite of subtracting 6 is adding 6. What I do to one side, I do to the other. Let's read it from left to right. I'm left with. Let's bring this down. 2x. All this is gone. The minus 6 plus 6 is all gone. I bring down the equal sign, and I do 14 plus 6, which is 20. Now the last step is going to be the dividing part, right? Opposite of multiplying by 2 is dividing by 2. I'm going to cancel that out. What I do to one side, I do to the other side, divide by 2. I am left with x equals, and then 20 divided by 2 is perfect. Okay. Let us take it now one step further. Let's see what happens. Okay. Let's go one step further. I am now going to do this. 5 parentheses x minus 2 is equal to 7x. Okay, so this one's a little different. But we're going to start it the same way. So let's multiply 5, or distribute the 5 to both these, x and negative 2. 5 times x is 5x. 5 times negative 2 is negative 10, and it all equals to 7x. Now, here's the interesting part that if I were to move this 10 and go, oh, let's just do plus 10, and I move it here, but this is a 7x. It's not a 7 where I can just do, oh, 7 plus 10 is 17. That's a 7x. These are not like terms. They would not combine with each other. So this is where it gets interesting. Can you guys look here and see are there two like terms in this entire equation? Because negative 10 is just a number. It doesn't have an x. There are no like terms here. There actually is. That would be 5x and 7x. They're both terms that have an x in them. So here's a rule of thumb that's going to make your life a lot easier. Always move the smaller value. So between 7x and 5x, which one's the smaller value? That's going to be 5x. So I have to move the whole 5x. I'm not just dividing 5, no. I'm moving the entire 5x over to that side. Here's how we're going to do it. What's the opposite of a positive 5x? The opposite of a positive 5x is a minus 5x, or a negative 5x. Whole thing cancels. Okay, and what I do to one side, I do to the other. So I'm going to do a minus 5x right here. New line. Okay, every step we do a new line, left to right. So left to right, what I have here is a negative 10 is equal to, now 7x minus 5x, simple. What's 7 minus 5? 2. And we just put the x there. So it'll be 2x. So I know what you're thinking now. This looks different. The reason it looks different because in the last 3 problems that we did, we had x equals this, 2x equals 10, 5x equals this. Now we have the x on the right side. Doesn't matter. I'm just letting you know right now, it doesn't matter. You're just going to work over here. Divide by 2, divide by 2, and I'm just going to, so this time it's going to be, I can do left to right again if you want, doesn't matter. Negative 10 divided by 2 is 5, equals x. So it feels a little weird to say 5 equals x. It's the same thing as x equals 5. If it makes you uncomfortable, you can just switch it around now and say, oh, x equals 5. I'm done with my answer. It really doesn't matter, okay? So just don't let that confuse you. Okay, I'm going to do one last problem, guys. And this is going to be the most important problem. This is the extent of how difficult you're going to see it. I mean, this is already getting pretty advanced, okay? So this is the extent of what you're going to see. At least in Geometry A, this is sort of kind of what I need you to be able to do. This is just the first week, so don't expect yourself to be perfect at it just yet. It will take time to learn something like this. Okay, first things first. Let's do the distribution. let's multiply this 3 out. So 3 times 2x is 6x. 3 times 1 is 3. Okay, now I'm just going to write the rest of it out. One step at a time. Okay. Now, let's think about who the like terms are here. Because there's 1, 2, 3, 4, there's so many different terms. Okay, well, I'm going to, just to, so visually to make it, I'm going to box this 6x. Let's see, who's the like term with 6x? Ah, you notice they're on different sides of the equal sign. Now, here's my rule of thumb. Remember I just said in the last problem, make your life a lot easier. Always move the smaller value over to the other side. So I would not move the 6x. That's a bigger value than 2x. I'm going to move the 2x over to the left. So what's the opposite of positive 2x? Minus 2x. Cancel it out immediately. And I'm going to then do minus 2x. What I do to one side, I do to the other. But notice, I'm going to do it directly underneath 6x because these are the like terms. I wouldn't do it here. It's not combining with that. It's combining with this guy. I'm going to go minus 2x right here. New line. Let's see what we got. 6x minus 2x is 4x. Let's bring everything else down. Plus 3 equals. This is all gone. We're just left with negative 1. Okay. Now let's think about it. There are still two like terms here. Not the 4x, though. The 4x doesn't have any like terms anymore. We have 3. So, who are we going to move? Now, you may be saying to yourself, well, the negative 1 is a smaller value. Yes, but here's a rule here. That guy's all alone on the equal sign. If you notice, there's nobody else on the equal sign with it. Okay, it's the only value here. It's the only term on the right-hand side. To make your life easier, just move this one over. Don't ever move something if it's all alone by itself. So I'm going to move plus 3 by doing minus 3, cancel, minus 3, new line, 4x. All this is gone, equals, now negative 1 minus 4. I want you to think about that. I have one negative, and then they meet up with 3 negatives. Together, they are how many negatives? 4 negatives. That's a cute way of doing it, okay? They'll like meet up together. Well, no, not with social distancing, but you guys get the point. All right, last thing. Divide by 4. Divide by 4. And now we have x equals negative 4 divided by positive 4. Different signs. I'm dividing different signs. That's going to make it negative. And then negative 4 divided by 4. 4 divided by 4 goes into it one time. Okay? Don't worry if, like, you're struggling with this a little bit. It takes you time. It's going to take time to get good at this, okay? Some people, this takes, like a year, more than a year. They struggle with algebra, okay? So I want you to try your best on these as much as you can, okay? I'm going to flip this over right now. And if you notice, last YouTube video was 1 through 5. So now this is continuing from that. It's 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So you can do it on the same piece of paper that you did the first homework on, if you have space. I mean, And so once you're done with all of this, you're going to take a picture of your homework. You're going to upload it on school under the title. It's going to be titled something like YouTube Homework 1 or something like that. YouTube Homework, 1. And so that's going to be all this homework, okay? And if you notice, I put 5 solving problems, and the beginning, the 6 and 7 and 8 are not as bad, and 9 and 10 are a little more difficult, okay? So do as much as you can. It's okay if you get it wrong. I want you just to try it, okay, guys? All right, well, thank you for listening.